Yes, the rhythm, the rebel. Without a pause, I'm lowering my level. Without a cause. Rebel without a pause. Public Enemy. The was Big Daddy Kane. Ain't no half stepping. 1988. Stay with me. Boy, oh boy. What a time to be alive, as they say. Man. Let's go this. First things first. Welcome to CNN. I'm your host, Kurt Kennedy, the underdog. Let's go in. On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. All right? By the grace of God, we try to expose them by the way that we live, not just the way that we talk. You know what I'm saying? Miss Juicy circa 1980. How you doing? How are you? Thank you for joining in. You the first one. We're going to get it in, though. I haven't posted in a while, so I'm not going to be offended if it takes a couple minutes for y'all to get the notifications and come on in. But we got to talk, man. Oh, boy. Wow. The world is crazy. Bob Marley was a prophet when he said, so much trouble in the world. Bob Marley sang that song. That needs to be a #1 hit right now. Man, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. First things first. How y'all doing? Good to see y'all, man. I know I haven't posted since like last week sometime. I did a little review of a little movie joint. I don't usually do movie reviews, but I did a review. But I wanted to get in here and just talk for a minute. Some of y'all been hitting me like, Unc, where you at? Where the thing at? And I don't even know if I like being called Unc right now after what's going on with Shannon Sharp. Because he's like the proverbial Unc. I don't know if I want y'all to call me Unc no more. But let's just have a conversation. Let's talk about this. Because many of you know this, and we're going to get into this right now. But there's a conversation piece that we need to have that's connected to Shannon Sharp, Donald Trump, and the tariffs, and all of it, right? So today, we're going to talk a little bit about Shannon Sharp, Trump, and the tariffs, and Candace Owens, our favorite proverbial head busser. All right, let's jump into this because it's a lot to talk about. Damn, my dude, good to see you, brother. Let's get it. All right, let's have this conversation. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's a wild time right now. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. All right, Shannon Sharp, for those of you that do not know, Hall of Fame wide receiver, has been known from Fox Sports Media as a commentator. He was with Skip Bayless for a little while. Left that show, got his own podcast, Club Shay Shay, which really, really blew up for him last year when he did an interview with Cat Williams. He really owes, I hope he's giving Cat Williams residuals, because Cat Williams predicted things last year that people are going to get exposed and stuff is happening. That thing went crazy viral, right? So that, and then he has another podcast with Chad Ochocinco, wide receiver all-star from the Cincinnati Bengals, and they have I forgot what their sport. It's a sports joint, and then he's back on ESPN with Stephen A. until yesterday. All right, so basically what happened was there was media reports that Shannon Sharp was about to be given a $100 million deal with, I can't remember who it was with, but I think it was his podcast. He's about to get bread. And within that time, maybe a day or two, a couple days, maybe at the most, a woman who was labeled as Jane Doe initially hired attorney Tony Busby to represent her in a $50 million lawsuit against Shannon Sharp. And it was just crazy stuff, right? Now, a couple things. Tony Busby is a lawyer. He's one of those Gloria Allred lawyer. He's like the male Gloria Allred. So I don't know if you know who Gloria Allred is. She's like this older woman, female attorney who basically does like scandals, celebrity stuff. Like back in the day, remember when Tiger Woods committed adultery against his then wife, and then all these women were coming out saying that they had actually been with him. Like Like, that's just a crazy thought. Like, remember back in the day when you were called like an adulterer, the Scarlet Letter, right? But then like in the 50s and 60s, it was like, you're a home wrecker. It was just like, and then now women will just like boast about like, yeah, I was with a married man. It's just crazy time, right? Well, all these women hired her as their lawyer. They were trying to get book deals to talk about what sexual intercourse was like with Tiger Woods. And I don't know if any of them got book deals, but I wasn't going to read them. That's a romance novel for you. And he swung the golf club, and these people be tripping, right? So anyway, he's one of those kind of lawyers. He recently went after Jay-Z and Diddy in a lawsuit that they allegedly harmed a 13-year-old girl at the time, and that proved to be, Jay-Z went hard, pushed back, that lawsuit was dropped, he was exposed, but then his next venture is this. So many people are saying, hey, the lawyer is doing this and he's behind that and all that. I don't know. But here's what we do know. He released a phone call with Shannon Sharp and the girl who Shannon revealed her name. He revealed her name. I think it was something Zuniga. I think it was Daniela Zuniga or something like that. This girl was young girl. And so basically on this audio clip, she said something about like, don't, manipulate me. Don't try to gaslight me. And he said, I'm going to have to choke you. And she said, I don't want to be choked. And so they're saying that they released that to say that that's part of like what he's done. He's physically assaulted her. And basically he assaulted her on 2 occasions is what she's suing for $50 million. Well, Shannon Sharp and his legal team shot back with a brief video clip of him talking, saying he's going to defend himself. This is a shakedown. And then they released transcripts of conversations between them that were sexually explicit. I didn't read all of them. I just happened to be on watching a video that showed 1 or 2 of them. I didn't read all of them. I don't even care about it on that level. But I will make a point in a second. So stay with me. So in his response, he went public and released conversation between them where she was asking him to put a dog collar around him and choke her. And that was evidence to him to say, you guys don't understand the context of that phone call. It was a 10-minute call. He only released 30 seconds, basically trying to say, this is what we and her do. So that wasn't me assaulting her. This is what he's trying to say. All right. At the time, ESPN, he wasn't stepping down or fired from ESPN. Stephen A. put out a video. It almost made it seem like it's probably likely he's going to have to come out off of ESPN. Well, 2 days later, Shannon Sharp said he was going to step down from ESPN to deal with these allegations and return back to football in the fall. But now, as we're hearing a couple more things, 2 things that are coming out now is that he really didn't. It was more like, we're going to let you step down or we're going to put you down. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not good for ESPN. Woo-woo. So he had to step down. He did it to kind of, it's almost like, I'm going to quit before I get fired. That's what people are saying. And then there's another allegation, apparently, of another woman complaining. All right. So that's the situation. I've watched a ton of videos of people talking about this. Some people mocking him. Some people like, man, what's wrong with Unc? Because the girl, when he met her, he was 53 and she was 19. I think she's 22 and he's 56 now, and all of this stuff, right? So people are like, man, what is Unc doing? What? There's a bunch, and people are mocking him like, man, he's a freak dude, all this type of stuff, right? So I want to have a different conversation. Let's talk about the real problem, right? And I'm not going to speak specifically from the Bible. Obviously, there's a ton of things we could say, but these people aren't believers. So I'm not going to talk about it from they're not submitted to the Lord and they're not obeying the Lord, because that's duh, right? I want to talk about another problem that I think has affected all of us and how we view these things. Here's the problem. Here's the real problem with the Shannon Sharp issue. And I'm going to call it capitalistic privilege. Actually, you know what? That sounds too woke. That's probably too woke for people. They're going to be like, look, as soon as you hear privilege, it's like, look, so let's change it to something more biblical. Capitalistic favoritism. Let me explain what I mean. Here's the real problem with Shannon Sharp. Here's the real conversation. I don't know if he assaulted this woman or not. I'm not here to even talk about whether he did or didn't. I don't know. I know he did offer, apparently, allegedly, that's what you're supposed to say today, allegedly. He did offer a lawsuit, a settlement of $10 million. And then she wanted 50. I typically wouldn't offer nobody nothing unless I was guilty in some way, shape, or form, or was worried that. So I think a lot of times when people go to a settlement, we presume, whenever they say, I plead the fifth, or they go for a settlement, we usually tend to think they're guilty of something. So I don't know what he's guilty of, that he would have offered $10 million. That's a lot of money. That would change. That could be generational wealth for most of us if we use it, right? Here's the real problem. It's capitalistic favoritism. Let me explain what I mean. I'm glad some people are having this conversation, what I'm about to say, but I think they're having it in a way that's more indicting Shannon Sharp. So here's the conversation people are having. Why is a 56-year-old man, or 53 at the time, going after a 19-year-old woman? Like that's your daughter, maybe your granddaughter, depending on how young you had your kids, right? If you had your kids in their 20, well, it'd be hard to have a granddaughter at 19 at 53, but it's possible. But at least she's too young for him, right? There's a 3 decades gap. Now, it's not illegal. She's over 18, right? So some people are having a discussion, but many people are having it in relation to Shannon Sharp. And then some people may say, yeah, but y'all ain't talking about Bill Belichick like that. He's got a bigger age gap. I think he's 72? And this girl's 24? I forgot what the age gap is. I don't remember. It's like 49 years. It's something crazy, right? She's 24. I forgot how old Bill. Maybe he's 69. I don't remember. And they're in a consensual sexual relationship. That's your grandfather, for real. Like, that's ridiculous, right? So people talked about that, but let me tell you what's really the real problem here. It's capitalistic favoritism. Or privilege if you're woke. Let me tell you what I mean. And the reason why Shannon Sharp, at 50-something years old, can go after a 19-year-old girl and we don't have an issue with it. Why many people accept that Bill Belichick is old enough to be this girl's grandfather and is in a sexual relationship with this young woman. We know that's not going to last. There's no way. I mean, maybe she does love him. I don't know. Love is blind. But it's just unrealistic for us. There's no long-term success for that. Maybe for him, but maybe not for her. She's going to eventually get over it, all this stuff, right? Let me tell you what's really happening. Capitalistic favoritism. In America now, if I were to pursue a woman who was 30 years younger than me, most people would be outraged if they found out. Oh my gosh, this guy's a pastor. How is he doing? What is he doing? She's like young enough to be his daughter. She's a couple years older than his oldest kid. Like, what is he do? People would be outraged, right? They'd be outraged. But we're not outraged when people have money. We're not outraged by that. When they have capital, right? And this is the problem. The reason why we really can't frown on Shannon Sharp or Bill Belichick is because we've been trained for a long time to accept that when people have money, they are above. We give them an authority. We put them above the normal social standards that we would hold everyone else to. Let me prove this. Excuse me. You weren't supposed to hear that. Let me prove this to you by bringing out another name. 2 words, Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner was the founder and the owner of Playboy and had stories of infamous parties at the Playboy Mansion. I remember Hugh Hefner being around late 70s, early 80s, and he was confirmed by himself and these young women that he was in a consensual throuple, like 3-way relationship with these young women, and no one said anything. No one cared. You know why? Because he was Hugh Hefner. He has money and power, and he invited the who's who of celebrities to his mansions and all of it. It was the people didn't mind because he was rich, he had money, and he provided a source of entertainment for people, which was lust, and helped destroy people's souls, eternally speaking. People didn't struggle with it. This man was rumored to be, but these girls were young, in their 20s, always blonde, really pretty girls. They were only with Hugh Hefner because of who he is. And America, most of us didn't really say much, because when you're rich and you have capital, you get favoritism. When Jesus said the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and I'm sorry, it may not be, just because it's not illegal, it doesn't mean it's moral. It doesn't mean it's moral. And we know it's not, because if I were to pursue a woman who's 18 to 20, even if she were 25, 20, it would still be like, whoa, bro, how old are you, bro? Like, aren't you like 20 years older than her? Like, aren't you, you're like her dad. It would just, people would have a problem with it. Unless you're rich, there's no outrage. There may be people like, wow, they'll say stuff like Bill Belichick's living his best life now, or, whoa, Shannon Sharp is, well, he's got money. I mean, she's 18. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral. We have, because of now listen, let me say this. I'm not against capitalism. I would rather be in a capitalistic society than a social or communistic society. Communism. I would rather be in it. So I'm not saying that. But I'm going to challenge what capitalism actually does. Capitalism brings out the greed in people and the lust, the desire for more. It brings out the covetousness within people. And we live in a society where everything revolves around coveting. I want this. Coveting biblically, which is idolatry, is basically greed. What I want this, I want that. This is the culture we live in. And we think, and the goal is to be rich and to be powerful. And once you get there, you're above the law, and to most degrees. But even if you're not above the legal law, you're above the social law that we would hold everyone else accountable to. We would never let a 69-year-old dude date a 24-year-old girl in your church. Your pastor would probably put him on the church discipline. Why? It's not illegal. She's over 18. It's still not moral. It's not right. We know this. But when people have money, we look the other way. We'll joke about it. And we might say it's kind of gross or whatever, but then we accept it, because capitalistic favoritism is the underlining problem. So you can't go at Shannon Sharp, because then you have to go at Bill Belichick. And you can't go at Bill Belichick because you have to go after your favorite actor. Maybe it's Leonardo DiCaprio, who's 40-something that only dates between 18 to 22-year-olds. You got to start going after all these people. If you start talking about Shannon Sharp, you got to highlight the fact that we have, as a society, given people who have money a favoritism, a social favoritism that says, hey, if you're Al Pacino, his girlfriend, he just had a baby with a woman who's like in her 20s, maybe 30s, and he's 80. Like, I love Al Pacino as an actor, but as a dad at 80 years old, when the baby's not even going to remember you because you're going to die, that's a problem. We wouldn't allow that in any other social circle that we're in. But if you're rich, we almost revere people who are rich. That's why Jesus said the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So back to Shannon Sharp. He has money, and so he can go into the gym, see a woman that he knows is younger than his children, and not care, because he has money and he knows that people will accept it because he's famous and has money. This is the problem. This is the real issue. This is the real conversation. When do we go after this point? When does it stop being okay to say people that have money are not above the law or the social dynamics of law? Just because it's legal does not make it moral. And so I'm not talking about his guilt. I have no idea if it's a shakedown. I do think the timing of the lawsuit, it came out right after the media reported he was looking at a $100 million deal. And I'm not one to say like who deserves what based upon what traumas they experience, but $50 million is a lot of money to give to someone who was in a relationship who, from these text messages, seemed like you approved of a lot of crazy stuff, to now say, oh, he forced himself on me. I'm not saying she's lying. That's a lot of money. I don't know if she's going to get that money. I don't even know it's legitimate. What I'm most talking about is this shouldn't even be happening. Like, where's the parameters for this man to say, this girl's 19 years old? Even if I'm attracted to her. Listen, I'm not talking about attraction. Yes, typically, younger women typically are really more attractive because they're younger. I get it. It's older men always want younger women. I get it. But we're talking about actually being, and then when you read the text message, that's a whole other conversation. The stuff that he's into, this is the thing. And this is what I love about what the Lord is doing. I just love because these people need Jesus, right? They need the Lord. But what I love is that the Lord is exposing a lot of what's going on behind the scenes for us, because we tend to idolize and approve of people's characters because they entertain us, they're rich, and they're famous. And low key, that's what many of us wanted to be at one point or still want to be. So we value that. I love that the Lord is saying, look at these people, man. Look at what's going on. I'm not to expose them like in a self-righteous way. These people need the Lord. But look at how they live. Like, why do you idolize these people? I just think, in that sense, I'm like, man, thank you, Lord. But in another sense, I hope that this humble Shannon Sharp enough that he comes to give himself to the Lord for real. Now, here's why I'm not sure if it will. And here's the good. If you're in this situation and you're famous, here's the good news for you. Because we live in a society of distractions, we have smartphones. We all have, listen, most of us have digital nervous systems. All of us do. And our digital nervous systems, sometimes that's why we be doom scrolling. It's just, you just are looking for something. We all have, because of technology, I'm old enough to remember when there was no cell phone, when you had to go to a pay phone to make a call. I mean, when you had a beeper, it was like, oh my gosh, someone can text me a number and I can get a notification and then call them back. We didn't even call them notifications then, right? It was just somebody beat me, right? It was a beep. The notification was a beep. It was the sound, right? I'm old enough to remember before social media, before that. But there's my kids and there's a bunch of people growing up where all they've known is social media, smart technology that allows you to constantly interact. So we all have ADHD. We're all distracted in many ways. And so here's the good news. If you're Shannon Sharp and some other people, give it about 3 to 4 weeks and it stays low, people are going to move on. We're going to move on. Because something else is happening. Donald Trump said there's something else. Some other celebrity is coming out saying they're gay or trans or whatever. Someone else is happening. Something else. We move on. We don't have the attention span or the desire to stay focused and slow. We'll move on. So whatever trauma, remember Travis Hunter, remember this guy? He got number 2 pick in the NFL draft last night, right? Number 2 pick. By the way, I do like our pick at 27, offensive tackle. We just made it so that Jaden Daniels can, but that's not the conversation we're having right now. But yeah, we had it. That was a good idea. That was a good move, baby. Mm-hmm. But Travis Hunter, remember when his girlfriend was being exposed by everyone for like using him and all this stuff? And I was like, and she was making videos. I mean, I really do. And I was just thinking like, and I'll never forget, Stephen A. did one of the funniest videos I've ever seen him do. And it was just the way he said it. But he did this video talking to Travis Hunter and his girl, his fiance, I guess his fiance. And he said to her, he was like, she made this video of her crying, trying to prove that she really does love him and she's not using him for his money. And Stephen A., he was just like this. He watched this video and he was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it was I was crying. It's little stuff like that my sense of the little way his face moved, the way he said it, I was crying laughing. Because I understood what he meant. So why are you defending yourself with these people? And you know what? That story went away. They moved on, and she was right there with him last night, dancing, right there with him. He didn't break up with her. They were right there. In this world, everyone's looking for a morsel of gossip or slander that we can just hold on to, especially when they're famous because they have more money than us. They're often better looking than us. They are more powerful than us. And the only thing we get to have over them is we're not doing the stupid stuff you're doing. So we get to be self-righteous. So we love the gossip and the slander because it puts them on equal ground with us because we're not them. We don't have what they have, but we also aren't doing what they do. It's just it's crack. That's why a lot of these channels that target like these discernment channels, these joints are just accuser of the brethren channels. Oh man, it's crazy. I hope I don't do that. If I do, I'll check me, please. Sometimes I'll talk about these kinds of issues, but I don't. All my videos aren't like let's talk about everyone else's sin. I try to indict us, including myself. We are all capitalistic favoritists on some level. Some level. We approve of things and lifestyles if people are rich and famous. We need to have a horizontal, a vertical view of the world, which we say, man, Lord, these people need you, because if Shannon Sharp is not saved, or Bill Belichick, or whoever these people are, their biggest problem is not the age gap of your relationship or the sexual proclivities that you have. It's going to be far more severe for them if they don't know the Lord. But it's capitalistic. That's the real conversation. We excuse people for these heinous acts because they have money and they're famous. All right, moving on to Trump. And it's the same. We're going to stay with the capitalistic favoritism, although I do like privilege, but they're going to call me woke because I'm a big guy, I'm black, and I have dreads that look like cornrows right now. So we'll keep it more biblical and call it favoritism. All right? Let's talk about Trump and the art of the heel. Heel. So here's the reality. If you're paying attention at all to the tariff war, the trade war, as they're calling it, that was largely just instituted by Trump. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some things that China has done for decades that has put us in a tough position. But the way Trump went about this was very was unwise. And what fueled the lack of wisdom, I think, was this idea, America first, and his boasting about how much money we're going to get from the tariffs. Even Doge, that Elon Musk led. Elon Musk said, I should show you the clip, but I don't feel like it. We're only going to watch one clip, and that's Candace. And we'll get to that in a second. Elon Musk said that they were going to get $2 trillion in unwarranted spending and cut it out of the budget. Everyone applauded, like, oh my gosh, $2 trillion? That's a game changer. I mean, our GDP is less than that. $2 trillion. We're like, it's just incredible. All this frivolous spending. When he sat down with the cabinet and members of Congress to talk about what Doge had found, he said, we found $150 billion. And some of that has proven to not be true. So all these people have lost their jobs. All the anxiety and stress that people were wondering what's going to happen. I had people in my church who work for the government that were like, oh my gosh, he could just cut our jobs. And people are saying, people who with more knowledge than me are saying that a lot of the programs that Elon Musk cut were programs that targeted the things that he was doing and the way he led his companies through tech. True or not, I don't know. I'm not here for that. The point I'm trying to make is that all this stuff, these promises, this stuff about money, it's all about capitalistic favoritism. And let me tell you why it's the art of the heel instead of the art of the deal. This is the real problem. Donald Trump, as of right now, lost this trade war with China. China is on their social media platforms chumping Donald Trump because he kept going up with tariffs. Now they're 145. At one point, it was going to be 245%. China said, we're going to stop at 125 and just chill. But China, we're so dependent on China that they were like, we're just going to wait it out. We're going to wait it out. And that's what happened. And so Donald Trump recently, 2 days ago, said, we're going to lower the tariffs and they're not going to nearly be as high, not that high. Now, remember when it first happened and the markets were freaking out. And he said on this thing, don't be stupid. Trust what I'm doing. Remember that? I showed you that in the video. I forgot. I'm paraphrasing what he put in his post. Don't be stupid. Don't be an idiot. Trust telling companies, open in America. We're going to do the tariffs are going to bring us back. We're going to do this. So far, he said in 90 days, we're going to have 90 deals. You know how many deals we have? Zero. But you know how many people lost their jobs and the anxiety and stress of that? Millions. Zero. I'm not saying that I don't know all the ins and outs of what Doge did, but I know this. We got to, if you're a conservative, I'm sorry. You can be upset. Unfollow me if you need to. But let let me as a brother, if you're a Christian, be honest with you. You're believing a liar. Like, you got to put more confidence in the Lord. Vote for who you vote for, but don't get behind people's character. Don't believe their promises. The Lord never said what he promises us is a safe and stable society. No, he said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you, not you'll never feel left or forsaken. There's a difference between this way I feel and this is what he's actually doing. Two different things, different video. Here's the problem with someone who wrote The Art of the Deal, who could run circles around me as it comes to money and finance, but I'm smart enough to know this one thing. Capitalistic favoritism. President Trump. Let me tell you what I mean by this. The reason why China just chumped America, and keep in mind, the world is watching, and China and the US are the biggest two world powers. The world's watching. China is going to other countries and telling them, do not side with America. We got you. Do not side with them. Let's build up the yuan, their currency, and try to make that the global currency instead of the US dollar. All right? Let me tell you why they did this. They know something that we don't know, or that Trump should know and forgot. Trump thought it was all about tariffs, and he came up with this plan and presented to us all these countries, and all experts said, where did he get these numbers from? And people just believe everything this dude. So then this dude says this stuff, and then he backfires, and then he says, I'm going to renege on the tariffs for 90 days, but the day before, we're not reneging. And then everyone says, well, obviously you guys are going to be the art of the deal. Here's the reality. Here's the problem. Companies in America, Apple, everyone who makes products, let me tell you why they're not going to build factories in America. Because of capitalistic favoritism. See, here's the reality of Western free market capitalism. Well, this is why the conservatives hate big government, right? Because big government tries to regulate corporations. Now, I'm in agreement with that. I don't think the government they try to regulate corporations, right? But here's the problem. Those corporations, because they're allowed to make capital and they want to make as much money as possible because that's what capitalism does, they're going to go to countries that will charge them less to make their products. It's called globalism, right? This has been going for years. Globalism. That's why so many of our products are made in China. They're not made in China because we like or trust China. They're made in China because the company that's selling it to us paid 2 cents to have it made in China, where if they did it in America, it would cost $25. You see, corporations don't want, this is why Walmart and, who was it? It was Walmart and some other conglomerate store chain met with Donald Trump 3 days ago and told him, you need to stop this thing. We're not going to be able to get products from China. Here's the problem. They could get products from China with a 145% tariff, but they want to keep their money at a certain margin because that's what they're used to. They want to be able to make a shirt that costs 36 cents in China and sell it to us for $90. That's why they love globalism. That's why the economy works that way. And because China was so suppressive of their nation, their country, they could have people working in these factories for little to no money to the companies in America, and they sell it to us for top dollar. Right? Fuji cameras. I'm a Sony guy, personally. Sorry, Fuji. I like my Sony. Fuji had to cancel all these orders for their new camera because the tariffs were too high. They could definitely still buy them, but it would hurt their capital. It would hurt their capital. Trump is supposed to understand this. Trump made it seem like we're going to raise the tariffs and then everyone's going to heal to what he says. That's not what happened. Yeah, the smaller countries will. Smaller countries would be like, you're going to go after Canada, who is one of the biggest suppliers of us. People that because America First is an arrogant platform because we're a global society. We're a global society. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some challenge to what China is doing and others, but we're a global society. We have too many products from China. What did China do? You know what they did? They said, all right, we're going to suspend these important minerals that we export to America. That's huge. The bond market started freaking out, and that's the real heart. The Dow Jones is not the real issue. The S&P 5, it's the bond market. That started to tank. The percentages went up to like 5%, and they were like, when Trump heard that, he was like, yeah, let's go ahead and chill out with the tariffs. Trump thought, I'm going to come in, I'm going to be a bull in the china closet, I'm going to raise tariffs all over the world, and everyone's going to bow heel and kneel to America. And China was like, nah, not us. Because you need us more than we need you. Or you need us as much as we need you. But I think in many ways, we import more from China than they do from us. And so what happened is now Trump's like, oh, we're going to make a deal. You know, me and President Xi, we're good friends and we're going to do a deal. And China's calling him a chump. China's saying, we haven't talked about no deal. There's no deal on the table. They just put out a video on their social media platforms everywhere that basically say, look, America's been trying to bully us and we're not going to go for it. We didn't want a war, but we're not afraid of it either. So if they're going to come in, if they're going to show us respect and all this stuff, they humbled us. And all these people, ordered a deal, you're an idiot for not trusting Trump, are now like trying to find a way to describe what's actually happening. I'm not saying you should have voted differently. I don't think Kamala Harris was not a better option at all. We were just doomed from the beginning. You talk about doom scrolling, it was doom voting. But the reality is we have to be realistic about what's happening right now from a believer's perspective. If you're a Christian, look, vote your conscience, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. Don't lose your discernment on what pleases the Lord. The Lord does not care about the policies that we have in the country. He's sovereign over all of them. He cares about the individual and collective pursuit of his people. And how do we shape and how are we sharing the message of righteousness and forgiveness to the world? God is sovereign over every policy that you think the Dems do that you hate. You think he needs Donald Trump to end certain policy? No, he doesn't, right? The problem is we're so big on capital. That America first is about money, not about character. God is about character. It's not about money. And this is the problem. And a lot of believers are more concerned about what's happening in the country than what's happening in their heart. We're losing the moral battle. I'm not talking about the left's policies on what is a woman. I'm talking about as believers, we're more concerned with who voted for who rather than how often am I praying to him. Did you vote for him? And we make these people our enemies. The problem is American corporations they do not want to open up warehouses in America. You know why? Because Americans are going to want, at best minimum wage, $18 to $20 an hour. They're going to want health insurance. They're going to want protection from other. They're going to want too much. So that company's either going to have to boost their sales, which they know Americans are not going to buy that because we're spoiled brats in many ways. So they want to keep their money and their businesses in these other countries. Why? So they can keep being multi-billionaire companies. They're not trying to come back to America. That's why these corporations secretly met with Trump. And when I say secretly, I mean it's already, everyone's saying it. That's because they were like, what are you doing? They were hitting him with the Stephen A. What are you doing? You can't do this, Trump. You cannot do this. You can't do this. And Trump's boasting, these people are kissing my butt. You're saying this on national television. Do you think China are proud? Listen, I'm no one. I'm a nobody. But even I have a little bit of dignity. You're not going to go on national television and tell you Kirk Kennedy's kissing my butt and I'm not going to buck back? What? I'm no one, right? You would buck back. Let somebody come on some YouTube channel, expose you and say you're kissing their butt because of the video they just made. You're going to be like, what? I mean, it's just like, you're talking about what? So Trump is just an arrogant dude who doesn't know what he's really doing. The art of the deal, you're not the best businessman in the world. All these people around him are just trying, because you know what it's about? Politics has not become about what's best for the American people. It's become this on both sides, opposing the other values of the political party. That's what it's about. So when you get in office, we're going to undo everything the other party did. They didn't used to do that. Politics today is less about what we really want. Most of us are in the middle. Left or right, we're in the middle. We're not far left and far right. Most of us don't struggle with these things. But politics is about undoing the other political opponent. That's what it's about. And for Trump, politics for him are about proving that he's the greatest president America's ever had. How in the world do you come into the White House? You're not even a month in, and you're already talking about trying to find a way to change the Constitution to have a third term. Fam, his ratings are plunging. Right now, if this were the end of the presidency, no one would vote for him. And this arrogant dude is talking about running. First of all, you can only run 2 terms. Steve Bannon went on Piers Morgan. No. He went on Chris Cuomo's show. And basically was saying they're trying to find ways for Trump to have a third. You can't do that, fam. You can't do that. So it's just a wild time. It's capitalistic favoritism. America does not want to, the corporations don't want to lose that money. They don't care about American jobs. They're rich. They care about American consumption. They want Americans to buy products because we're going to buy them because that's who we are. We're a consumeristic nation. That's why, listen, I used to be in the hood. In the hood, you got dudes that will be poor, but will have the freshest Air Jordans on. They'll find a way to get them Jordans. Now, they might do something illegal or whatever, but they're going to find a way to look because what capitalism does, it's about presentation. This is why people, look, these NFL players, last time I'm watching the draft, these dudes are showing up with iced out jewelry, all this. You ain't even got no house yet. You don't own nothing of that jewelry. That jewelry is not going to sustain you, bruh. You're not even going to wear that a year from now because it's going to be played out. And then when you try to sell it, it's going to be less than when you bought it for. Right? These dudes that had the nicest cars, because what capitalism does, capitalism cares about the external appearance of a person. But God cares about the internal character of a person. That's why he tells us don't love money. That's why the Bible hardly ever warns the poor, but it warns the rich from Old and New Testament. It says things about the poor, like, look, a man who doesn't work doesn't eat. Yeah, there's a verse or two, but the larger warnings are woe to those who are rich. Because when you're rich, you're given a level of favoritism that is different than other people, and people assume certain things about you because of that. I'm going to say this. I wasn't going to do something about Candace Owens. I'm going to say that. I'm going to do a video hopefully tomorrow, and I'll show you this thing about Candace Owens. I'm going to end with this to prove the point I just made. So in the parable of the rich young ruler, right? Remember, this guy comes up to Jesus. He says, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus says to him, the commandments, and he names the commandments. Do the honor your mother and father. And the kid says, the guy, he says, all these I've done since my youth, right? And it says, Jesus looked at him and loved him and said, one thing you lack, go sell all your possessions and give to the poor, right? And the dude, it said he was really sad. And then he got up and walked away because Jesus exposed the real issue. He didn't want to, you did some good things, but the real stronghold for you is you're rich and you don't want to give up your money. So that's what you have to do to inherit the kingdom. He walks away. And Jesus says this to the disciples. It is easier for a camel, a large animal, to go through the eye of a needle. So this 2-ton animal, right, this 800 pound to 1,200 pounds, whatever, animal, it's easier for him to go through the eye of a needle, which is like millimeters big, than for the rich to be saved. The disciples say, who then can be saved? Do you know why they asked that question? Because in their minds, if you're rich, you're favored by God. You're blessed by God. And Jesus basically said, no, that's not really true. He said that the rich are the toughest people to reach because of their riches. But the disciples were like, well, then who then can be saved of these people? Because they're blessed by God. He said, no, they're actually not. We are the disciples in that scene where we think the people that are rich are favored and blessed by God, and they're not. But they're favored and blessed by us because we want the lifestyle. We want the favoritism. We want the capital. We love it. We want it. Maybe not all of us now, but at some point or another, most of your dreams were not dreams of have a middle class job and just doing your thing. Most of your dreams are much bigger than probably what we're living. This is why a lot of Americans have what's called a midlife crisis. Because we're just like, oh my gosh, my life is not what I thought it would be at 45 or 50 years old. It's Christ, he reinterprets our story and our narrative and gives us purpose in the non-sensational things. He gives us purpose in the just resisting of sin. He gives us purpose in the serving others, and he gives us purpose in praying. He gives us purpose in the things that are just non-sensational. But what we want is the capitalistic things that are very much that. That's why you get the athletes with the jewelry on and the rappers in their videos who will rent cars and money and homes that look like they have it. Because what capitalism does, it says, as long as my outward experience is good, that's what I care about. These corporations do not care about people. Yes, they give people jobs, of course, because they need people to work in their stores in order for them to make the money. But they won't bring those factories back because they won't make the same capital. It's not going to happen. What do I know? What do I know? All right. I got to get out of here, but let's go to the tape. There's some of y'all in there talking. Let's go to the tape. Let's talk. Let's see what's happening. Matt Wilson, tight end, LOL. Nah, we ain't get no tight end. I hope you're not talking about my pants. Nah, we got a tackle, baby. If you talking about what we got. So, what's up, Pastor Kurt? Do you guest appearance on podcasts? I do. Yeah, you just got to get at me. Hit me at Kurt Kennedy at me.com, and we'll see if we can make something work. It depends on the podcast, too. And it depends on the topic. I'm not going on podcasts to argue with people or slander other people. If we talk on perspective and all that, sure, I'll give that. And but I don't go on podcasts to get lit and do all of that. Not because I can, but because I just choose not to do that. So, yeah, I do, but it depends on what we're talking about. All right. I caught my guy live. Brandon Barty, what's good, my dude? Appreciate you, Framo. Appreciate you. I frown on the money. I feel you, JB. I feel you. I feel you. I don't know what you mean, but I feel you, bro. I feel you. Pastor Kurt Donald, what's up, Rich? Good to see you, my dude. Always a blessing to see you there. Always. Blessing and hello to everyone. Always. I love that. Believe in hope. The same greeting every time. You are amazing. I love it. Whenever I see it, I just know it's going to be blessing and hello to everyone. All right. Can you flesh out not moral? How can something be wrong and not moral? Okay. That's a good question. So let me give you the biblical perspective first, right? In 1 Corinthians 6, let me read this to you. I didn't know this question was there. Otherwise, I would have had it pulled up. So when I say that, I try to be as biblical as possible in the stuff that I say. And sometimes I'm not. But in 1 Corinthians 6, this is twice in 1 Corinthians, he says this point. He makes this point. Let me find it. Where are you? Where are you? Where did you go? Where is it? Well, he says this. All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful, right? All things are lawful, but I will not be dominated by anything. And another time he says, all things are lawful, but not all things are beneficial, right? So what he's trying to say is just because it's not against the law of God, it doesn't mean that it's helpful or that it builds others up. That's the biblical perspective. Just because it's not illegal to do, it may not be sin, doesn't mean it's beneficial. So when I said just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral, just because, yeah, technically in America, we say if you're 18, you're an adult, and so you can date anyone who's over 18. You know, there are some laws that say people can be 16, it depends. All that. But basically, if you're over 18, that doesn't mean it's a good thing, though. It doesn't mean it's beneficial. Like, what would I do dating a woman who's 18 years old? We can't even watch shows. We don't even got the same music. We ain't got nothing in common. Just because you're pretty or whatever, or you're attractive. So just because it's not illegal doesn't mean it's moral. It's the right thing. It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean that God is pleased with it because it's legal in America. That's the point I was trying to make. Hopefully that makes sense. Look who's back. Yeah, you know what it is? I've been doing this other side hustle with real estate stuff with a friend of mine, and it's got me really busy. But I was like, hold up, man, I miss my folks, man. I miss my people. I got to get back on YouTube, man. You know what I'm saying? Especially for people like this one, Jasmine out the gate. I'm going to tell you, Jasmine, I hope I get to meet you this side of glory. But if not, when we're in heaven, man, you always, I'm not saying this to manipulate anyone else to do it. I'm not giving Jasmine her flowers because Jasmine knows the gardener. I'm encouraging her biblically. Thank you. You always faithfully throw out $20 in there. You always do that. Because these videos, people want, where your videos at? But like, I don't, these videos take time and all that stuff. Thank you, Jasmine, for always on it. You always look out for your dude all the time. I appreciate it. There's a few of you that do that. And I to me, $20 is a lot of money. $5 is a lot of money. I'm sorry. I mean, not in the grand scheme of what we're talking about. It's not like, oh, if I'm going to die, but it's like, no, that's your hard-earned money. You don't got to give me thank you. But the book Respectable Sin, 100% by Jerry Bridges touches on this part. I love that book. He was a personal friend of mine, actually, Jerry Bridges. Personal friend. Like really knew him. Not like I met him once. We knew each other. We all have blind spots and a tendency to try to justify certain types of sins if we struggle with them. There is also tribalism is 100%. I mean, that's definitely it. And that's what I mean. The Bible talks about that, right? Even in Romans 1, the context is different, but it says, even though it was talking about sexuality, but it wasn't talking about sexuality. It was talking about a bunch of other sins. He says this in Romans 1. Actually, let me just go there real quick. Let me not paraphrase, but let's actually read what God's word says. Here's what it says. He says this in Romans 1, 30 and 31. He says, let's say 30. Though they know God's righteous decree, and this would be like people, tribalism, right? They know God's righteous decree that those who practice such things deserve to die. They not only do them, but give approval to those who practice them. 100% American theological Christianity. 100%. Your channel helps keep me balanced. Jules, thank you. Boom, boom, boom. And let me tell you something about Jules. I bang with Jules. Let me tell you why. Because Jules is from the west side, and she came all the way to the area. I forgot why you were in the area, Jules. But one day, Jules, and I think her mom and sister just showed up at my church. Said, let me go check out Kirk Kennedy's church. I didn't get a chance to talk to them because they had to leave right after. But it was just cool to be like, wow, there it is. So appreciate you, Jules. Thank you so much. I try my best to keep us balanced because I'm not on anybody's side. I'm just going to say what I see. And there go times I'm wrong, I'm sure. I'm a fallible human being. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to say what I think and have an opinion. So appreciate that. We're more likely to ignore particular sins if they are done by our tribe. 100%. And both sides politically did that, right? The left acted like everything was white privilege. And if you're not an anti-racist, then you're racist. Like, what in the world are you talking about, fam? I know. So I remember when all that stuff happened in the church. My church is very multi-ethnic. I'm very proud of that. We're a couple hundred people, and we have white, black, Latino, Asian. We're like the United Nations in my joint. And in the area, in PG County where I live, right outside of D.C., it's a largely black and Latino county. But like, we just have a lot of people, right? And when all that stuff started happening, I remember somebody, a couple black people in my church were like, Pastor Kurt, you need to tell the white people what's going on because, I'm from, like, first of all, I'm in terms of being black, like from the street, from the hood, all that, I was like, I'm the blackest person in my church. Like, there's black people there, but like with the way that we categorize black people, I'm from all of that, right? And there were people like, we need to tell these people, white people got, and I said, I'm not going to correct these white people. I said, fam, they're with us. They're at church. They're telling their people, this is my pastor. This big black dude is my pastor, ex-street dude. They're laughing at the slang that I use in sermon. I'm not going to tell them that. But it was it's like, you got to do this and do that. And then the conservatives shot back with, oh, first it was social justice warrior, cultural Marxist, then woke. And it was like, you got to believe. And it's just like, it's all or nothing. And it's like, no, there's nuance. And I think that's the problem. So yeah, that tribalism is real. What the Bible calls it is Amos 3:3, the two walk together unless they agree to do so, right? Or bad company corrupts good character in 1 Corinthians 15, right? So that's also there. Future been around. She from the past to me. She been riding for a long time. Reminds me of the Proverbs 20, where every person was 100%, right? But the Lord examines the heart. 100%, man. 100%, not man as in you're a man. You know what I mean. You don't identify as anything but yourself. Respect you. What a gift to get Kirk Kennedy on Friday, working away. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I've been caught up, but there's a lot to talk about. I keep saying I'm back, and then I'll skip a couple. I got to get back on it. My channel's never going to get over 5,000 people because every time I don't post a video, I lose 5 or 6 people every time, faithfully. That is future. Okay, y'all having a good old conversation. Y'all getting it in down there. I'm gonna leave y'all alone. Y'all doing y'all thing down there. Melody jumps in. Greetings all. Is what we see today. From such turn away, but also pray. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Melody again. Yes, purpose in the work for the kingdom. Hate I missed the commentary on Shay Shay. Many thoughts, but mostly get to know Christ for real and stop getting with ransoms. Help, Lord. Yeah, I just think that's stuff. Definitely looking for the Candace Owens video tomorrow. Her version of Christianity is dangerous due to what it conveys to a fallen world. Yeah, the Candace Owens video is not really about her view of Christianity. It's something else, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be interesting. Well, it might not be good. I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting to talk about. So that's gonna be tomorrow's video for sure. But yeah, I do. Candace Owens is a Catholic, but a lot of Catholics do this. They speak. This is the thing. It's a crazy country we live in. So we're supposed to pretend like people who are diametrically opposed to what we believe in certain ways do believe because they claim to believe the same alternate savior in Jesus. But she's a Catholic. I have no problem saying I'm not a Catholic. I was not grieved that the Pope died. It didn't change my day at all. It didn't change my day at all. I had to resist the same pizza and carbs that I'm trying to resist whether he died. It didn't change anything to me. But if you're a Catholic, you may have felt some type of way. We're just different. But she talks as if there's a blend of these things. But that's the country we live. This is what we live in. We live in a society. Let me tell you the scheme of the devil that's the most potent right now. Here's the greatest scheme of the devil. It's called syncretism. It's the Mark 4 parable where Jesus said, but like some people, the seed fell on in the field, and then the plants and thorns and thistles grew up with it and choked it out. And basically, when he explained, he said, the desire for money, the desires for other things, and the cares of this life, it says it grew up. When you look at it, he says it grew up with them. It became a part of who they are. And he said they choked. And people don't realize that he's talking about what we would call syncretism, where you make your politics, your sociology, your skin color, your back, all those things become a part of your gospel. There's a tension that we have to learn how to be in the world and not of it. We can't just say, listen, I'm a black man from the ghetto. I was facing 43 years in prison for multiple charges that I did. I'm from all of that. But none of that is more important than who I believe and what I believe. The colors that I may have banged with were blood red, but the identity that I have is his blood that was shed, right? So it's just that I can't let me being black, and even though I've had negative experiences with police, all these things, I can't let that determine my moral aptitude towards culture. Because Christianity is not about bringing morality to the culture. Christianity is about imitating a person. And this is why I can't stand the left or the right's politics, because they're trying to bring their ideology of morality to bear through politics, and they think they're doing the will of God. But you don't pray for or evangelize to people. Morality doesn't change people. Try the Mosaic Law in the Old Testament. Read the bottom half of Romans 7, right? Like the whole point is the law doesn't change. So neither will policies in America, but that's not where we at right now. So it is what it is. Alyssa, Renee, thank you. This is my favorite YouTube channel. Please give it a comment. I grow from them. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Thank you, Alyssa. You always have good feedback from me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, Shannon isn't dating her to have things in common with her or to build a life together. You're definitely right. You think in your 50s you'd have a different perspective. You know what, though? You know what, Future? You know what's funny? The reason why they don't is capitalistic favoritism. They don't need to. Listen, what money does, let me tell you why people want money and power. Well, even if you don't have money and power, but if you have money and power, think about this, the people who get plastic surgeries, right? Even though some of these women get multiple plastic surgeries and they look like they look like one of the Thundercats. They look like they're on the Broadway play Cats after like 3 surgeries. It's incredible. But they keep doing it. These women will be like, I've had 10 plastic surgeries and you can hardly talk and you keep having more of them. I don't understand. I don't get it. It's like we're obsessed with youth, right? And so when you have money, because there's this idea that somehow youth, even though biblically, that's not biblical at all. It says beauty fades, but a woman's character, it says beauty is fleeting. The beauty of youth fades, but a woman's character lasts eternally, right? It's eternal perspective. We don't think like that. We think like we want to just stay younger. So when I have money and power, I can get work done so that I look younger, right? Or I can do things. I can pursue a younger lifestyle because I have the money. You would think in your 50s, bro, you want somebody, okay, even if you want to go maybe in your 30s, I get it. 19 years old, fam? It's like, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's moral. It's not right. Dr. Stephen J. Lawson, 100. What are we doing, fam? That's even worse because you're actually preaching, calling out other people for their sins while you're doing that. Oh my gosh, where is our fear of the Lord? Jeez, I can't even, man, I could. Brother, I was about to send out a search party. Yep, you did put out that big old milk. Remember, we old school. You had to put out a milk carton, right? Remember them when you were on a milk carton? Now I'm here. I just been doing real estate stuff with I've been trying to do a little something on the side. You know, I got to make sure my boys are right. You know, I've been trying to do that. But nah, I need to get back on this. I've missed doing videos. And there's a lot to talk about right now. There's too much to talk about. Jules, he's not lying, and the people of the church were very welcoming and kind. Thank you, Jules. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Jasmine Jones, that tribalism is so perfect. 100%. That tribalism is something else. Candace stays doing entirely too much, but I'll leave. Oh, you'll have comments for the next video. I mean, I do appreciate certain things that Candace Owens does, so yeah, we'll talk about that in another video. In the next video, we'll just save that. I prayed for the Pope's family, but the Catholic system is not right, though believing in purgatory and praying to saints takes away from yeah, that's a different, we can get into that. Pastor Kurt, what's this Gnostic ethnicity that Vody is now exposing? By the way, look out for the super chat I just sent you. Will do. Thank you, brother. Gnostic ethnicity. So Vody has been on this thing. Ethnic Gnosticism is what he called it in Fault Lines. And this is, I'm sure this stuff is still out there, but let me take it's really interesting to me. A lot of these guys, particularly conservatives, the reason why they keep having to stay with woke and even this terminology, ethnic Gnosticism, because that's what worked for their brand. Everyone has to hold on to a brand. And so if that was working a couple of years ago, I just don't know. Does it matter now? So ethnic Gnosticism is basically just his critique of the left. And this is what's interesting to me. Well, I was about to say something, but that's for tomorrow's video about Candace Owens. We're going to talk about what she's talking about. Well, I'll save that for tomorrow. But what's interesting to me is even the concept of identity politics. It's identity politics when the left was saying black people, but the whole country, our American history was identity politics when it was white equity and inclusion, right? That's just the history. On one level, a lot of what I think has happened in America is I think God just saying, you can't be mocked. We're just so funny. Remember when Jesus said the men of Nineveh are going to rise up and judge this generation? You know how far away ago Nineveh was from when he said that to the people? Nineveh would have been, 1,000 years, maybe longer. Let me see, Jonah would have been, when was Jonah? Jonah would have been maybe 800 to 1,000 years away from when Jesus said the men of Nineveh will judge. He was basically saying God doesn't forget any of this stuff. So when we say, oh, that happened a long time ago, I was going to be like, when you think God opens the books and judges humanity, he's only going to judge people for what happened recently. He's going to judge all that. So I just think it's fascinating. So this idea of ethnic Gnosticism is essentially his critique of the left's view of ethnicity, and particularly black people, but not even just black. I'd say progressive white people who largely are the ones who make the biggest noise. It's a view that he would say, oh, because of the skin color, they see everything through their skin color. It's the same old tropes. But so white people do the same thing on the conservative side. It is not unique to anyone. It's not unique to any culture, fam. It's unique to humanity. Will you ever be in Washington State in the near future? I would love to meet you one day. Thanks for the video, brother. I don't know. I'm not sure. I was in California for a month last year. You know what? It's possible. I can't think of any. I don't have anyone reaching out to me to come out there, but if I do, then we'll definitely connect, man. All right. I got to get out of here. I got to finish my sermon, and I'm going to hang out with my sons. All right. Love you guys. Good to be back. Oh, real quick, Father, I just want to thank you for the video. And Lord, I just pray for Shannon Sharp and the girl Gabriella Zuniga, all the people that are involved, Lord, but mainly for him and her because they're the ones who are here. Lord, we've watched Shannon Sharp say and do a lot of things on this channel, and he comes off as a nice guy at times, depending on but there's a lot of people saying things about him in a negative way. It doesn't matter to me if they're true or not. I know that from what it seems, Lord, from the cheap seats, he doesn't know you, and he doesn't seem like he has a desire to know you. Oftentimes, your word says pride comes before the fall. I pray, Lord, that this fall would be dramatic enough that he would humble himself and find a new identity in you rather than in the money and power that he had that he's now losing, that allows him, that justifies in his mind sin against you through intimacy with young women. Lord, I pray that there's grace for him to believe in you, Lord. So I pray that. Lord, I pray for President Trump. He professes to be a believer, Lord, and you know I'll just be honest and say I don't believe that he is a genuine believer. But you said in your lifetime on earth that people's lips honor you, but their hearts are far from you. So, Lord, I just pray that you would have mercy on him. I pray that this situation with China would humble him, that he would see he's now talking more humble. I pray that it would humble him. And I pray the rippling effects in our nation and the outcry, his he loves the approval of man, Lord. Just like Saul, he loves the approval of man, but his ratings are dropping. Lord, let them keep dropping, not because I dislike him, but because that can humble him to trust in you. So, Lord, I pray that that would happen according to your will, for your glory and our good. In your name we pray, amen. All right, guys. See you next video. Grace and peace.